Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blades and bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icewind, head out to Cho or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
Saturday, which means it's time for another Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show, where I, Gaarawarr, talk about a topic in Idle Champions relevant to somebody's interests, hopefully, for about an hour, and then do Q&A portion in the second hour. Today's topic is going to be the 2024 Champions Part 1. That basically means all of the champions, the featured champions was what we're going to call it now from Q1, from the first quarter of 2024. So we can kind of talk about everything, all the new hotness is sure. With me today in the production booth is Gabe. Gabe's going to be grabbing questions and keeping an eye on chat. So if you have a question for me at any time, throw it in chat with question : beforehand, as you can see below, and as you'll see in chat from the bot. And Gabe will grab it and put it over here so that I can get to it in the second half of the show. If you don't put question : in the front, then it probably won't get grabbed, and I'll miss it. And I don't want to miss your questions. So yeah, we got because of the way events changed, we have five champions to talk about today, so we're going to dive in, get started. Oh, hey, look, I'm live. All right. The first champion we're going to talk about is my favorite champion to arrive so far this year, and that's Karlach. Let me level up Karlach a bit. Karlach arrives from Baldur's Gate 3, the multi-award-winning game. I mean, like, all the award-winning game. Should we just call it all the award-winning game? Because I think that's probably it. That released finally. She's one of the Origin champions, so the champions that you can play as your character if you wish. Not just, you can also have her in your party if you want to play a different character. She's great. So she joins us as part of the Absolute Adversaries affiliation, which it currently includes all of the Origin champions from Baldur's Gate 3. We got them all now. So yeah. Female Tiefling Barbarian. Chaotic Good. DPS, tanking, and support are the roles. Those are the roles. Karlach starts off with a Great Axe Cleave as her base attack. She attacks the closest enemies, plural, with a swing of her Great Axe, so she just goes right through them all. She has a passive ability. That's what this level 0 means. It means it's always functioning, even when she's on the bench. And that's as a champion of Zariel. As a champion of Zariel, Karlach can be used in any Zariel patron adventure or variant, even if she would not normally be available to be used due to variant or patron restrictions. So basically, if you're doing something for patron Zariel, Karlach can come and play. So you'll always have a tank, or you'll always have a DPS. I mean, you should always have supports, but yeah, so you're covered. Karlach's got you covered in Zariel stuff. Her main buff once she's in your formation is the Fury of Avernus. She increases the damage of all champions. It does say including herself, but I mean that should be obvious. It does say damage of all champions. In her column and the column behind her. So she's obviously it's kind of Brunor-ish in her column, and then the column behind is like Nieli-ish. So column behind would is the portion that both of them will work as if she's supporting. Spoiler alert, I use Karlach as my DPS, so it's just all I care about is buffing her. But this has got you covered. So in her column and the column behind her, that is a positional formation ability, so will work with anyone who manipulates positional formation abilities. As with all the absolute adversaries, she has a Ceramorphosis ability. This is the tadpole ability that generally is the more tadpoles there are in a formation, the better the ability gets. For her, obviously she gets 1 stack just for being in the formation, and the formation itself gets a stack. She increases the health of all other champions by 20% of her max health plus 2% for each tadpole, basically, stacking additively. So if you were to run like a full formation, there's 7 tadpoles right there. That would be 7 times 2%, 14%, so 34% of her health would get shared with the whole party. That's before any other tadpoles you might add to your party, right? And you can have up to a total of 10 tadpoles in your party, right? 10 champions. So she could technically share 40% of her health, which is a massive health share. Health share is the function of tanks that helps keep the rest of your party alive. So if you take AoE damage to your party, normally the squishies would just fall over. But with health share, the tanks share some of their health because they're the only champions that health scales up as you level up. So pretty interesting ability. One of her biggest features is her rage. I mean, she's a barbarian, so of course it is. When she attacks or is attacked, she gains a rage stack, and this caps at 50 stacks. Right away, folks, I just want a heads up, whenever you see an ability start referencing stacks of something, keep your eyes peeled, because abilities with stacks, if they stack multiplicatively, that's the good way. These are the stronger abilities, and we want to keep an eye on these. So 50 stacks. Karlach increases the effective Fury of Avernus, her main buff, by 25% for each rage stack, stacking multiplicatively. This is the good way. Now, when she changes an area, her stacks do get reduced by 60%. So she can't just carry them all over to the next area, but she can carry a bunch. She can carry 40% from area to area. So the longer you're on an area, the stronger her buff is getting, which is the way you want it. This means the further you're pushing and the harder it is to kill things, the more she's going to buff you as they come onto the screen and she attacks or is attacked by them if she's in the if she's just getting hit, because you can get a hit from anywhere. The enemies can attack your whole party in some situations. So yeah, this is fantastic. 25% is a solid base multiplier when you're doing stacks. Okay. Infernal Engine. So while Karlach has 20 or more rage stacks, she ignites on fire. That's right, folks. She's hot in more ways than one. Dealing 0.1 second of bud-based damage for each rage stack to any enemy that attacks her. And this stacks additively. So this is basically, she gets on fire, and if somebody gets in close and hits her, they take fire damage, basically. Now, because it starts at 20 rage stacks, that means you're starting at 2 seconds of Bud base damage. So let's say if she was setting Bud here, your Bud is basically your damage per second. So she's doing, with her hits, 5.25 seconds of Bud damage, right? That's the way to think of it. So she's doing another 2 seconds when they hit her. But remember, rage stacks up to 50. So at full 50 stacks, she's basically doing, if she were your DPS, they'd be taking a hit as if she were hitting them herself. Okay. So this is a solid amount of damage. Can get at 50, it's a solid amount of damage. But it's always, because it's Bud-based damage, even if she's not the one setting your Bud, it's whoever is setting your Bud is setting the highest damage, and it's coming off of that. It's always going to be a good chunk of damage. And this kind of Bud-based reactive damage can remove armor segments if Bud is high enough. Okay. Let's talk about her specializations. This is really going to tell you, inform how you're using her. Like, what you choose is what you're. I mean, this is they're pretty much straightforward here. Berserker, DPS, Wildheart, tanking, for the most part. Wild magic, support, for the most part. Could you mix and match these two at times? Sure, but this one is DPS. This is your DPS. This is DPS Karlach, Berserker. Where Karlach has 20 or more rage stacks, she increases her damage by 50% for each rage stack she has, stacking multiplicatively. Look, the 25% per stack is already great. That's the buff to anyone that qualifies, right? This is just to her, and it's a 50% base multiplier. Berserker is huge. This puts out a ton of damage. Okay, ton. Wildheart. This is her sustain function if she's tanking. While Karlach has 20 or more rage stacks, she heals 10% of her max health every second. So this is just a constant self-heal if she's at 20 stacks or more. So if she's in your front line and she's taking damage, she's just going to be healing 10% of it. And it's every second. So over 10 seconds, there's 100% of her health, right? So as long as she's not taking more than 10% of her health in damage every second, she's fine. It's kind of like it's a delayed damage reduction, kind of like Priv gets with his heal, but his is every 10 seconds. Hers is every second. Wild Magic, again, the support functionality. While Karlach has 20 more rage stacks, she increases the effect of the Fury of Avernus by 100% for each stack of Ceramorphosis, stacking multiplicatively. This is very much, obviously the best way you can use this is if you're in a full tadpole party, right? Because it's stacking multiplicatively. It can be a lot of damage. This can be super solid. Again, this one's flexible in some ways. You might use it if you're tanking, if you just need the damage and your sustain is fine. Like, there's ways you can use this in others. So, you know, it's going to depend on the number of tadpoles. I'm just going to go Berserk. Like, that's... My Karlach is DPS Karlach. So, this is just the way it is, folks. Alright. Let's move past Berserker. Soul Coin is her ultimate, and we're going to talk about that in a minute because it's a big deal. Not all ultimates in this game are a big deal. Karlach's ultimate is a big deal. Capital letters. Capital A, capital B, capital D. It's a big deal. Her last ability, though, is a scaling ability based off progress. So, an experienced gladiator. Karlach increases the effect of the Fury of Avernus by 10% for each Zariel patron variant you've completed, stacking multiplicatively. Look, this girl stacks multiplicatively. Like, everything. All of her stacking stuff is like, multiplicatively. Karlach's great. Karlach is not, she does not have what I've termed a mathematically overpowered ability, which is a multiplicatively stacking ability that has item support, and the item support buffs the pre-stack multiplier, which is the strongest kind of ability in the game. She doesn't have any of those. What she has is fantastic scaling off basically all of her abilities stacking multiplicatively. She's just strong. She's just strong. And you'll love to see it. So if you have not done any Zariel stuff, she's not going to deliver any of this. But when you do, it can be a big number. If we hop over here to my experience Gladiator, I've got 332 variants completed for Zariel. There's nearly 400 in the game. This is an E17 buff right now, including my itemization. I do have a lot of item models. I have 1,000 item models. I did throw a lot into my Karlach. But that's because she's my main DPS, basically. So it can be a big number. It can be a very big number. It's 15 before we get a post-stack multiplier. So getting a lot of Zariel stuff done, big deal for her. Just makes her better. Just makes her better. Okay, let's talk about the soul coin. So we talked about how rage is really her biggest thing. It's 50 stacks, and you're stacking multiplicatively. And to talk about, I just want to make sure people understand, when you're dealing with like multiplicatively stacking versus additively stacking, if we talk about like her base thing is 25% per stack, like the boost to Fury of Avernus with rage, if that were additively stacking, 4 stacks would just give you 100% bonus, right? 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25. It's pretty straightforward, right? But when you talk multiplicatively stacking, things get way different. That ends up being over 100%. We're talking like 140, I think. Oh man, I hate doing math on stream. 144%. It's already a good amount larger, but the more stacks you get, the better it gets, right? So when you're talking 50 stacks, if you were doing 50 times the 25%, you'd end up with 1,250% bonus. Whee! Like that's nice and all. That's nice and all. But when you get up to 50 stacks, this is over 7. This is like a 69,000%. No, 70,000%, somewhere around there. Bonus. Much bigger deal, right? Her soul coin changes the stack value, the number of stacks you can get. Once she pops her ultimate, her rage caps at 100 stacks. And it doubles the bud base damage given off by her infernal engine until you complete the next boss area. This is what it looks like. We call it the flame and onion. It's not the greatest art, but it's the greatest effect. So she'll start stacking and just keep stacking. So at this point, you're looking at that 25% modifier that was like in the 70,000 range. And suddenly, number there. Suddenly it jumps up to like 4 billion%. Did I do that math right? I think I did. Hold on, I gotta do it again because that even shocks me, folks. Hold on. Yeah. This is when you get started multiplicatively stacking, stuff goes through the roof. The more stacks you get, things just go through the roof. So you can see I'm ramping up now. Fury of Avernus is now up into the like an E29. If we look at Rage, we're only at 23 stacks, but if we get all the way to 100, this is just going to get ridiculously large. Infernal Engine, because before it was 20 stacks or 50 stacks was going to give us like 5 seconds. Well, now it's doubling that, so we're going to get up to 10 seconds, right? And it's doubling the damage coming off of it. The amount of damage that's going to happen from Karlach getting hit is going to be bigger than any of your damage dealers. So if she is tanking with Infernal Engine with her ultimate going, you can have your best formation and super high damage. Things hitting her are going to take more damage than they'll take from your DPS. She is with her coin going and getting hit by people at 100 stacks. She is the #1 damage dealer in the game. Period. Because nobody else can, like, she'll multiply your Artemis damage. She doesn't care because she's taking whatever he sets and then multiplying that and taking massive amounts of that and reflecting it back on enemies when they hit them. So she's big. She's a big deal. She's a big deal. What are we at? We're only at like 38. We're gonna come back to that when she gets up to rage, so max, so you can see kind of what the numbers are looking like. Item wise, damage all champions. She has a health item, Fury of Avernus, Rage, Experience Gladiator, and then ultimate attack cooldown. These are all fantastic. You like all of these things. The ultimate attack cooldown is actually kind of a big deal because her ultimate is like 11 minutes normally, or something like 11 or 12 minutes. It's ridiculously long. Ridiculously long. So I've got this one maxed and it's reducing the cooldown by 525 seconds. That's still a 3-minute cooldown. That's still a 3-minute cooldown. So yeah, it's long. But the nice thing is once it's popped, if you can't use it again because it hasn't gone away, you can't click it again. So you can't like restart that cooldown. Once it wears off, once we beat a boss level and it wears off, then it'll be available again. But then it'll go on cooldown, and it's going to take 3 minutes for it to come back. Okay. Beat-wise, damage all champions because she has a support, health because she's a tank, and damage, self-damage because she's a DPS. She has a huge taunt feat. It increases her damage by 400%. So even when you're not tanking with her, you want to use it because 5x damage, that's the biggest damage feat you can put on her, right? But otherwise, if she is tanking, her attacks can taunt enemies. 50% chance to taunt. You've got Fury of Avernus feats, you've got Rage feats, you've got Experience Gladiator feats, you've got Overwhelm feats. Everything. I really got to pick up some of these. I can't believe I can't believe I haven't bought them all yet. Shame on me. And a base 25 Overwhelm. I mean, that's, yeah. She's I think that's base. Hold on. Did I have a feed in for Overwhelm? I did not. Yeah. So it's base 25 Overwhelm. So fantastic. I can't say enough good things about Karlach. I will talk about Karlach the whole stream. We're up to 62 stacks. But for now, let's go talk about Presto. Presto came into the game after Karlach this year. Presto joins us from the Saturday Morning Squad. That's right, folks. The cartoon from 1983. That's where Presto came from. So far, we only have Diana, and Presto in the affiliation. However, the Dungeon Master is in the game as well. And Uni the Unicorn, they are a kind of a tag team. They come together. They're not part of the listed affiliation, though. Male Human Wizard support, neutral good. Neutral good. Base attack is Presto's hat, because all of his magic comes from his magic hat. Presto takes his hat off, pulls out a random projectile, and throws it at the nearest enemy, dealing 1 hit. So Presto has an ability, we're going to talk about this first, Hat of Many Spells, because it's a function of this. His attacks cause monsters hit by them to take more damage, so he's a debuffer. It can stack, that debuff can stack multiplicatively, that's the good way, up to 5 times. You can see this is an odd number of a debuff. This is, so automatically we know, multiplicatively stacking debuff, and because this is not a fixed number, that means there's item support here, it's right here, and that item levels buff the pre-stack modifier, so he's mathematically overpowered, or mop. He has a mop ability. So this is one of the strongest types of abilities. Not all mops are equal, his only goes to 5 stacks, but still, multiplicatively stacking debuff. In addition, a second effect occurs depending on the projectile. If he throws a birthday cake, the monster is slowed by 50% for 5 seconds. If he throws at a skateboard, the monster is knocked back a short distance. And if he throws a rotary phone, the monster is stunned for 2.5 seconds. And if you don't know what a rotary phone is, Google it. Google it. So this is all a function of his base attack, effectively, once you get to level 100. His base support ability is Hesitant Helper. He increases the damage of champions in the 2 columns in front of him by an amount. So he wants to be behind people, which makes sense because he's a squishy little teenage wizard. And he doesn't want to get hit by stuff. His ultimate has its own explanation here instead of just over here. It's a hat full of havoc. He fires assorted objects from his hat at his enemies. And here are the assorted objects. Snowballs. Snowballs fire at all enemies, so it's a screen-wide damage, dealing 1 ultimate hit to each monster and slowing them by 50% for 10 seconds. Additionally, the weather changes to snow, so it will start snowing. The weather change thing is important for champions like Virgil. He's a storm sorcerer, and he counts up weather changes and buffs based off that. Fireworks. A shower of bright, colorful fireworks shoot out and explode all over the battlefield, dealing 1 ultimate hit to all monsters, so again, screen-wide damage, and stunning them for 5 seconds. The weather changes to fog. Tornado is the last one. A tornado flies out of the hat and grows in size, dealing 1 hit to all monsters and knocking them back a medium distance, and the weather changes to rain. Let's see what we can get. What do we got? It's a tornado, folks. Look at that thing go. And now it's raining. I'll try to remember to hit this. Actually, I'll just park a familiar here so we see stuff happen every now and then. Yeah, so it's three different ultimates, basically, with 3 different functionalities, completely random. Completely random. Specialization choices, Humble Heroes, Junior Juggernauts, or Magical Mystery. For Humble Heroes, Presto increases the damage bonus of Hesitant Helper. That's his buff ahead of him. 100% for each champion with a total ability score of 78 or less that's in the formation. Junior Juggernauts, same thing. Hesitant Helper buff, but it's for each champion in the formation that's age 20 or less. And Magical Mystery, same thing. Hesitant Helper, 100% for each champion in the formation that has a magic attack. His specialization choice is super easy. Build out your full formation, and then click the button that has the biggest number over it. It's one of those. It's one of those. Now, it does say for each with 100%, these should be, it doesn't call out multiplicatively, so this should just be additive stacking. Should be. I'll go double check. It's supposed to call it out when it isn't, but that doesn't always happen. Yeah. Nope, stacks multiplicatively. It says it over here. They should really put that on the spec choice. So yeah, you definitely want to pick the highest. I mean, you want to pick the highest number regardless, but it does stack multiplicatively. But the buffs are post-stack, so it's not another mathematically OP ability, unfortunately. And then, oh yeah, it's way up here, way up here. All his spec choice is at 200, but at 1200 you get his final ability. Presto is a component scavenger. He's the first scavenger that came in the game. He can help you scavenge Modron component pieces. These are not pipes. Let me be clear. He's not scavenging you pipes. He's not scavenging you, getting you chests to open. He's specifically scavenging Modron component pieces. These are these pieces down here, component pieces. These let you upgrade pipes to a different rarity by spending some pieces. It's always going to be the same shape, and if it was a directed thing like this, it's going to be the same direction. It's just going to be the higher rarity, and that's the higher multiplier. Yeah, it's a way for you to empower the pieces that you have. If you don't have, like, if you don't have, usually you're trying to get up to epics, and if you don't have like an epic directed, down vertical pipe, but you have a blue, you can put the blue in and then upgrade it, and it becomes epic with the proper epic power. So he's basically a long-term helper, slow helper of you upgrading pipes to epic. So there is a maximum amount that you can scavenge, and this max goes up 20 every day. So 20 every day. Now, it's not every day from the moment that you get him. It's every day from the moment he was added to the game. So this is the current cap, and every day that cap goes up. So yeah. So it's a 10, while you're not at your cap, you have a 10% chance of scavenging one piece each time a boss drops a sack. So anytime you defeat a boss, or anytime you jump over a boss with Briv, he grabs the bag. Anything in the bag, Briv grabs, and thus you would get these from as well. What a lot of people do is they'll park like Presto in a background party that's completing stuff, and just to get him some chances at bags without, maybe if they're not using him in their main party. So that's a way to try to scavenge. As you note, I'm nowhere near my cap, but I have plenty of component pieces. But so this is going to help out, newer players who don't have a lot of component pieces. They're new to the Modron game, the pipe game. That's what you're going to get a benefit here. Item-wise, damage all champions, hesitant helper, had a many spells. This is the debuff, specializations, and then ultimate attack damage and ultimate cooldown. Feat-wise, I should just throw another one in here, so it's not getting me. Damage all champions, hesitant helper, had a many spells, spec choices. He has a strength feat. This will help him qualify for Patron Zerial variants. And he has a constitution feat that will help him qualify for Patron Vajra variants. Okay. So the good thing here, the good ones here are like if you want the Had a Many Spells stuff, because that's going to buff the debuffs. So there's all the Had a Many Spells ones, and then whatever you want after that for Presto. Let's look at Karlach here real quick. We got 100 rage stacks, so we've got a huge buff. Our damage reflected back is 20 seconds of Bud. Like I said, nobody in the game does 20 seconds of Bud damage. She does when things hit her when she's at max rage with her ultimate going. Also, her Berserker is now an E19 self damage buff. That should be for everybody because there's no item for Berserker. So yeah, just hey, here's a casual E19 on top of what now for me with my itemization is an E36 buff, support buff that she gets. So this is why I like my Karlach. Up next is Dynaheir, bouncing here and there and everywhere. High adventures that's beyond compare. That is Dynaheir. Wait, I don't think it is. Oh wait, what do we get? Oh, we must have done fireworks because I see fog on the screen. All right. Dynaheir joins us as a hero of Baldur's Gate. Now, this is not the same as Baldur's Gate 3. Those are the absolute adversaries. Heroes of Baldur's Gate are, storied characters from past video games or comic books. So the Heroes of Baldur's Gate comic books. There's a lot here. I hesitate to call it a complete affiliation because they keep adding people to it. So who knows how many we'll have eventually, right? I think maybe one in every bench seat would work, and we're up to 10, so 2 more maybe. 2 more. Female human wizard, support and speed, lawful good. Lawful good. So her base attack is an old school sling. She attacks the closest enemy with her trusty sling. That is a ranged attack. You can tell by the arrow. So she's a wizard, but she attacks. It's old school. She attacks with a ranged attack. Her base ability, base buff is the Resolve of Rashomon. Dynaheir increases damage of all champions in the formation who have a con score of 15 or higher by an amount for each champion affected by this ability, and it stacks multiplicatively. So yeah, just right off the bat, it gives you a very restrictive qualification. Your DPS has to have con of 15 or higher. Your DPS needs to be beefy. And the buff is based off how many people in the party have con of 15 or higher. So a bit of a niche buffer. Second ability, Enemy of Thay. Humanoid enemies are her favored foe. This is a feature of a lot of the Heroes of Baldur's Gate, if not all of them, favored foe mechanics. And there are a lot of things that trigger off favored foes. So she just says, hey, these are my favorite foes. And then there's a 50% chance that she spawns a red wizard with each wave in a non-boss area. You're seeing them come out over here. They're the red-robed ones. That's anytime you see the red robe come out, that's her spawning an extra enemy. Extra enemy spawning is a speed effect. It allows you to get to your quest completion quicker. So that is part of her speed effect. Spoils of War. All favored foes have a % chance that changes based off your itemization to drop double quest items or count for double quest progress. This is another speed effect and her largest speed effect. But they work together, right? So it says all favored foes and not just her favored foes. So if you have more champions in your party that have favored foe mechanics, more of a chance that you're going to be speeding through this. And when it goes over 100%, 100% chance would be a 100% chance to drop double. As you go up, like if it's a 200% chance, that means you're going to drop triple, 300, quadruple. So I'm getting 7x quest rewards when she kills a favored foe. 7 times standard based off these numbers. Okay, and Spoils of War has an item, so it's capped. So this is her current cap, and I think I have, yeah, I've got both of her feats in. Is there another Spoils of War feat? Okay, yeah. So that's going to be the highest it's going to get to currently is 672. Okay, so the pretty big boost. As long as you're killing, it's all based off favored foes. Her ultimate attack alternates between Fireball and Lightning. Obviously, both screen-wide things. Let me throw the Fireball now while you're killing this zombie. There, boom, Fireball. Okay, when it comes back around, it becomes a Lightning Bolt. And it goes, instead of just going out and going boom, it goes through a target. Whatever, it targets the thing with the most health. But then hits everything in a line along that path. That's her ultimate functionality. And then she has another ability here, support ability called Defensive Position. So she increases the bonus of the Resolve of Rashomon by 20% each time an ally is attacked, up to a maximum of 100 stacks. Stacks apply multiplicatively. There we go with the multiplicatively stacking boosts again. Reset when changing areas. So the longer you are on a level with being attacked by enemies, the more she's going to buff your party, and it's going to stack multiplicatively. If Minsk is in the formation, because they've got a history, the base effect is increased to 44%. Much bigger boost, because you're stacking multiplicatively. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Okay. And finally, the Unapproachable East. Champions in the frontmost column of the formation have their overwhelm increased to 25 if it wasn't already higher. This means if you have someone who is a squishy, who normally would not be able to exist, like Karlach's already got 25, but hers went up to 35? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I've got to feed in. If you had somebody up here that wasn't a tank, like here we have Overwhelm 5, Dark Urge. Now they have Overwhelm 30, well, it should be 25. I have a feed-in that boosts it by 10, folks. She gives Overwhelm, which is a tanking stat, to whoever's in the front column. Overwhelm is basically, it's the number of enemies you can tank before you start taking bonus damage, and the bonus damage is based off the total number of enemies hitting you. So at 36, I would take 36 times the bonus damage with every hit, right? Like it's you don't want to get over your overwhelm. When you get overwhelmed, you take a lot more damage. So she boosts that number up a huge amount. Again, because I got a feed in for her that boosts that by 10. So it's basically going to make people's base overwhelm 35. And then we finally get to her spec choice. She has a couple basic ones and then a special one. So Circle Magic and Iron Lord's Justice. These are the basic ones. Circle Magic, champions that are adjacent to Dynaheir get +1 con. And the base effect of the Resolve of Rashomon is increased by an amount. This does two things. One, it can help people who are just shy of her con boost, of her con requirement, to reach the con requirement. They just have to be adjacent to her. So it does boost con for everybody. And because this changes the base effect of a multiplicatively stacking ability. And as you can see, it's a random number. It has item support. It makes her Resolve of Rashomon ability a mathematically overpowered ability. It makes her mop. It's the only way she mops. The only way she can become mathematically OP is if you choose Circle Magic. Okay. Iron Lord's Justice just gives you a boost, like a solid boost of damage against favored foes. And then Loyal Bodyguard is the specialty. Minsk gains the tanking role and is eligible for this adventure in case he wasn't. So in a case where, like, say, you're only allowed to bring in female champions, If you have Dynaheir in, she can bring Minsc in. And he becomes a tank. So, I mean, if you were just doing an adventure where you had no tanks available, but Dynaheir was available, you can bring in Minsc, and Minsc can become a tank for you. His base health increases by 200%, and then further increases by 75% for every 50 areas completed in the current adventure up to area 600. All other champions' health is increased by 25% of Minsc's max health. So it basically gives him health scaling and health share. It makes him a complete tank. And if we look and we add Minsc to the formation, Minsc has only 5 overwhelm, but we throw him over here and suddenly he's now at 35 overwhelm because they have that feat involved. And it does say DPS tanking, support, and speed. And his health goes way up. Okay. So, fun little interaction there if you choose that specialization choice for Dynaheir. Basically, Minsc is her bodyguard, and this effectively and functionally makes him a bodyguard by allowing him to tank for her, even if nobody else is available to tank. Okay. Super neat. Super neat. Itemization, damage all champions, resolve of Rashomon. This item is not pre-stack, it's post-stack. Spoils of War, it does have a cap, that is the speed item. Defensive position, the specializations. Now this is the one that with Circle Magic is the pre-stack multiplier for Resolve of Rashomon. And then ultimate cooldown reduction. Feats, damage all champions. Again, this is the one that boosts, it's the Unapproachable East, it's the one that boosts Overwhelm. I love that for my tanks. If she's in the formation. Resolve of Rashomon, Spoils of War, these are the speed feats. Defensive position, specialization. But again, boosting the specializations if you're in Circle Magic, that's the way to go. There's even a 40% one. She does have a Tadpole feat. So a lot of the Baldur's Gate characters are getting Tadpole feats so that they can work with the absolute adversaries. And those come with just a base damage all champions 25% boost. Because the big boost you're getting is the Tadpole stacks. She has a Charisma feat, and that's going to qualify her for Patron's Aerial. All right, oh, Presto, what's coming out of your hat? I didn't even... There it goes. That was fireworks. All right. Oh, and here's the lightning bolt, since we didn't see this yet. Boom! Lightning bolt. That was it. Not visually stunning, but... but hey, it's an ultimate. All right, so those were the 3 champions that arrived in the old version of Events 1.0. We have 2 champions that were featured in our first ever Event 2.0. So Events 2.0 are the new way, and we have, before you just had the newest champion, and that was Karlach, and then Presto, and then Dynaheir. Now we have a new champion and a reworked champion, and they're referred to as the featured champions in Events. Potentially we could end up with 2 new champions in an event or 2 reworked champions in an event. But we're going to talk about both of these. So we're going to talk about the Dark Urge first. The Dark Urge was our new champion that arrived in the game. Again, via Baldur's Gate 3 as one of the origin characters. Male Dragonborn Sorcerer, age unknown. And it is important to know that part of his kit is he doesn't interact with age-based abilities. At all. So if there's somebody that does something based off age, unless it specifically calls out that it does something with the Dark Urge, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Chaotic Evil, DPS. This is all he does. All he does is damage. That's his thing. Okay. He has a passive ability, level 0, Dark Inheritance. He can go anywhere. Any adventure, any variant, any patron, he can go into all of them. Now, if once he's inside, there are features that can remove champions, he can get knocked out. But he can go into anything. Anything. Okay, his base attack is Murderous Slash. I know it says Sorcerer, but look, it's a storyline thing. The Dark Urge strikes nearby enemies with a slash of his dagger. Now, it does say enemies, plural. This is a small AoE effect. His base ability is the Urge. Each time the Dark Urge defeats an enemy, he gains a murder stack. It's almost like he's evil or something. The Dark Urge increases his damage by 0.1% for each murder stack he has, and stacks persist between adventures. This is a permanently stacking ability. The more you kill, the more damage you do. That's his thing. Again, he's a member of the Absolute Adversaries, so he has a Ceramorphosis feature. And based off the tadpoles in the party, he increases his own damage. And it stacks multiplicatively. There's two exceptions to this rule, but Karlach and Gale don't stack multiplicatively for Ceramorphosis, I don't believe. Or if they do, Karlach doesn't. I can't remember Gale, but he does. He's not. His isn't mathematically OP. All the other Absolute Adversaries, theirs stack multiplicatively with item support for the pre-stack multiplier. So the Dark Urge does have a mop ability. And then he also has a second. That's his first mop ability. He has a second one on Living on the Edge. He has 6 Outcast stacks, minus 1 stack for each adjacent champion that does not have the DPS role. The Dark Urge increases his damage by an amount that varies because of itemization for each stack he has, stacking multiplicatively. This means you want him next to DPS champions, which means he likes to be with DPS tanks like Karlach or DPS supports like a lot of other champions in the game. He just basically wants to be adjacent to them. So there are certain formations that are going to be better than others, but he would want to be like adjacent to the fewest number of people, and hopefully they all have a DPS tag. Otherwise, he loses stacks. Spec choices: Storm Sorcery, Draconic Bloodline, or Divine Soul. Let me talk about Divine Soul first. This is the one if you're trying to go out and farm murder stacks, you go Divine Soul. It increases the credit you get every time you kill. So you're basically getting triple credit every time you kill something when you're in Divine Soul. That's its only use. If you're doing farm runs, Divine Soul. Just stack up as much as you can. Storm Sorcery is a solid. It's kind of the one I use the most. It turns his Murderous Slash, or it empowers it with lightning, so it makes it both melee and magic. And it boosts the radius, basically the range, triples the size of the AoE, and it deals up to 800%, so up to 9x damage to enemies based on how close they are to him. So if they're right on target, they take the most. If they're further out at the edge of the ring, they take less. So it's a very solid boost to his damage. Also makes his AoE bigger to kill larger groups. And adds the magic feature. So, he then becomes a magical attacker as well as a melee attacker, which can be important for certain things. Draconic Bloodline is based around Dragonborn champions in the formation. It's a 200% boost for each Dragonborn, stacking multiplicatively. Because of the way this works, you need to see this number be 4 or higher for it to outdo the damage boost of Storm Sorcery. So if you happen to have a lot of Dragonborn in the formation, 4 or higher, you're going to get more damage from this. You're going to, you're giving up a bigger radius, and you're giving up, magic-based attacks for more damage if you go Draconic. Okay. Yep. And then he has a second set of specializations we'll talk about now since we're here. He can either embrace the urge or he can resist it. If he embraces it, his ultimate becomes Form of the Slayer, and he deals double damage for each evil champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. So if you are in an evil formation, he's going to get a massive damage boost, turn into a different form, and just destroy things for a short period of time. You can resist the urge, and it changes his alignment. He switches from chaotic evil to lawful good. He becomes a lawful good champion. He unlocks a resurrection ultimate. Withers, his buddy Withers, comes out and will resurrect him and anyone else that's dead. That ultimate will automatically trigger if he dies, or you can manually hit it if other people have died. It is the only manual resurrection we get in the game. He also, just all the time, will deal double damage for each good champion in the formation. The other one is all the time double damage for evil, to be fair. It isn't just during the ultimate. So different ultimates available, and even a different special, even a different alignment. We're going to choose resist here, so you can see he is now lawful good. It changes it over here. I want to say that's it. He's real straightforward, folks. Yeah, he just hits things. He just hits things. I know he's a sorcerer, but really he's a stabby boy. Itemization, self damage, the urge, Ceramorphosis, living on the edge. So 2 multiplicatively pre-stack items buffs, and then this is the specialization boost, and this is ultimate cooldown. And yeah, the specialization is post-stack. Just wanted to make sure. Feat-wise, everything you'd expect. We get, I guess not everything you expect. There's damage all champions feats. It's like he was supposed to be a support, but he isn't. He actually also has some damage all champions upgrades. So in a pinch, you can add him in. If you don't have anyone else, you could add him in, and he will give some damage to all champions. And there's feats for that. And you could put him in and get a resurrection ultimate in a pinch. But that's really not how he's supposed to function. He's got self-damage. He's got a big one here that's his Dark Urge damage by 5 times. And it prevents familiars from accidentally activating his ultimate attack. But this one is a feature of progression. This is one of his tier rewards for event stuff. He has the Urge, he has Ceramorphosis. These are usually the big ones because of the stacking feature. Living on the Edge, again, at multiplicative stacking, if you get a lot of those, then you might want to throw this in. And some high self-damage and a spec choice one. All right, and let's wrap this up with Daduus. Daduus is an older champion who got a full rework when he arrived with the Dark Urge. So, male human wizard, DPS support, chaotic neutral, no affiliation at all. His base attack is Chromatic Orb. He tosses a Chromatic Orb with a random element at the nearest enemy. He has 3 different types of orbs that he'll throw. Acid, Frost, or Fire. And the color matters. We'll get to that. Skill Empowerment is his support ability. It increases his damage and the damage of champions with 14 or more intelligence who are within 2 slots of him. Adjacent slots now. That ability used to jump gaps. It does not anymore. It's 100% for each champion in the formation affected by the ability, and it stacks multiplicatively. So once again, the more people who have this intelligence minimum requirement that are within 2 slots of him, the bigger he buffs. Practice makes perfect. So enemies hit by a chromatic orb are debuffed based on the orb's type. So there's 3 separate debuffs that can apply. Each debuff increases the damage of subsequent orbs of the same type by a scaling amount, because he's got an item for this. Right? Yeah, it does. And it stacks multiplicatively. So this is this is a multiplicatively stacking with item support, and it's a debuff. Enemies can have up to 5 debuffs of each type, and the debuffs do not expire. So you can stack them up, and once they're there, they're taking max damage when they get hit by him for those orbs. Now, I do want to be clear. This is his damage, because it's the damage of subsequent orbs. So this is him doing more damage. Chromatic Wonder. Daduus keeps track of the total number of sets of all 3 orb types he has cast in the current area. It increases the effect of his support buff by 100% for each set, stacking multiplicatively and capping at 20 stacks. So this is how those orbs ramp up his support buff. Specialization choice. You're either together in magic or apart in magic. You're basically picking the bigger number at the bottom. Is it how many magic attackers versus non-magic attackers? It's the same thing. It's the same value. It's buffing his support ability, and it stacks multiplicatively. And then second spec, because, you know, one isn't enough. You have a DPS spec, a support spec, and then a spec that just makes him apply to more, gives you more stacks. So Empowered Orbs is his DPS spec. It's 5x damage, and it's an AoE now. His orbs are AoE. Empowered Empowerment is triple his empowered skill empowerment buff. And then Use Smaller Words, which is this is the best name. It reduces the required intelligence of his skill empowerment to 12 and higher. So if this can boost the number of champions that are getting your buff, it can outdo this stuff by a lot. Use Smaller Words. So yeah. You're just going to have to know the stats of the characters in your group to choose, to decide which one you're going to want to choose. I want to say that's it now. His ultimate remains the ultimate that can hit the most things in the game. Magic Missile Barrage. So Daduus summons a storm of magic missiles, which is one for every enemy on the screen. And remember, you can have 101 enemies on the screen, plus a few extras for good measure, and I think it's like plus 10 or something like that. But they attack at random. So there you go. Magic Missile Barrage. If he is your DPS, or if you're facing hit-based things, lots of hits is lots of good, right? Take lots of chunks off enemies. But yeah, you can just, when you unleash a swarm, when you let 100 enemies stack up on your tanks, and you just unleash a swarm, it has been known to cause problems for some computers, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and it's great. It's great. Itemization. Together and apart in magic. That's the spec choices. Damage of all champions. Skill empowerment. Practice makes perfect. Chromatic wonder. And then, of course, ultimate cooldown, so you can do that more often. Damage all champions feats. Self-damage feats. Skill empowerment. Practice makes perfect. Chromatic wonder. Spec choices. You know, it's all the straightforward stuff. He doesn't really have anything that's going to change anything in any fun way. All right, folks, those are our 5 feature champions for the first quarter of 2024 all together for you. It looks like we only have like 6 questions so far in the document, folks. Even if you don't have questions on this topic, fire away with whatever Idle Champions questions you have. We're going to take a short musical interlude and come back, and I will start digging into these questions. But this is the part where you ask the questions and I answer them, folks. What song are we going to the break on? Oh no. Hold on. Let me cheat and go look. Cry for Justice. This is the song for Bahamut. Enjoy.
Shine a beacon in the sky, guiding light to those who cry for justice. On platinum wings they fly. Their scales will form a shield, breaking mercy they will wield. Unwavering till evildoers yield. Facing tyranny and greed, standing for the making free. From before the world was new, the platinum dragon flew. Here's the love of the North Wind, angel of the 7 heavens, king of the dragon. Bahama will fight injustice. Let's show him that he can trust us. Now there's knowledge over gold, takes joy in stories told, grants his wisdom and blessings to the bold. Takes no pleasure in the fight. Uses words to make things right. Through the darkness they carry through your life. Raise your hands up to the sky. 7 songbirds with him fly. Platinum wings will shelter all. If you just answer the call. Here's love of the north wind. Angel of the 7 heavens, king of the dragons. The humble will find injustice. Let's show him that he can trust us. Trust his weakness, he's enlightened justice. Join our ranks and stand amongst us.
Such a good song. I don't get opportunities to play that one enough. It's really good. Bearer of the Hand. Interesting. Ooh, Finger of Death. Ooh. I've forgotten what's going on in this adventure. I haven't been here in a while. That's why I figured I'd drop us in here today for that and other reasons. Let's hop into the quote. First off, folks, if you just came here for the code, you come over here, you copy paste it from chat, grab your Electrum chest. Yay. All right. Let's hop in with the questions that are on topic, and then we'll get to all of the general questions. Dante Draco asked, doesn't Karlach's ultimate also stop her from losing stacks, like her rage stacks, when you change areas? So it is not listed here on the text. However, it was stated that that was the case in the champion spotlight for Karlach, and thus I have that information in my guide for her. There's only one way. I believe that is correct. I'm a little upset it's not listed. But here, I'm going to get, let's just get some stacks. Give me one more stack. Give me one more stack. Okay. So we have 5. I'm going to pop a soul coin. Where are we at? There's 6. We're going to move forward an area. And she doesn't lose anything. So, yeah. Unlisted bonus of having the ultimate up. Is you don't lose rage stacks when you change areas. Now, just remember, her ultimate shuts off after you beat a boss. So then you will go back to losing rage stacks. So kind of the good way to hit it is when you hit the first area of a section, fire off her ultimate. She'll stack up rage stacks all the way to the boss, defeat the boss, and then you're just going to have to wait for the cooldown to come back to do it again. Just for clarification of Presto, from the scavenging items, to increase the chance. Well, you never increase the chance of scavenging. You increase the total number. Does it go up after you unlock the champion or if they're in parties? Look, it doesn't matter whether you own Presto or not. I know this sounds weird. The amount of Modron components Presto can scavenge goes up every day, has gone up every day since he launched, since he arrived in the game, and will continue to go up every single day. If you are watching this 3 years from now, it has gone up 3 times 365 since this video arrived on, I was presented, whatever. Right, it's just going to continually go up forever. That's the way. There are now multiple scavengers in the game, and this is the way all of them do. Every day it goes up. Whatever the stated value amount it is, it goes up every day from the day they arrived in the game and will continue to go up forever. It doesn't change the chance of you scavenging. It changes the maximum amount that you can get, which is the right way to do it. We don't care. Like, getting it up to 100% doesn't matter if the amount you could get was capped, right? It's a low amount to get something, but you can get it forever. Even if you cap it out, even if I was capped out today, tomorrow I could gain more. And the day after that, I could gain more. And the day after that, I could gain more, right? That's the way the scavenger abilities work. You just have to read, like, how much is it going up each day. Semi-related. Oh, well, no, let's back up. Dante Draco, if you don't know what a rotary phone is, will the stun be extended? I think it's a self-stun. If you don't know what it is. If you don't know what it is, please go look up what a rotary phone is, folks. Pranalias, with feats, when it comes to feats, like the ones that these champions have, where they have multiple for the same type, do they work together, or does the higher amount override it? No, they are all separate. All feats are separate. All feats are separate. So in the case where these are like, it boosts something by 1%, these are unique multipliers that multiply against themselves. So if you have a 20 and a 40, it isn't going up by 60. You don't take your base value up by 60. You take that base value up by 20, and then you take that total, and then you boost that total by 40. Hopefully that makes sense. Ends up being higher. It's better. It works the better way. Now, if it's a stat feat, it's additive. It's additive. So if you have a +1 and a +2, then you use them both, you get a +3. So just look at what it's doing. Is it a percent? Is it a flat value? Same for overwhelm. Overwhelm or flat value, they're going to be additive. Yeah. For it to be, for percents to be additive, it has to specifically call out usually that it's additive, and there might be one in the game, but and follow-up JMB, does it matter the order they're selected? No. Again, that's not how math works. That's not how math works. So no, multiplication doesn't care. Like if I have 100 of something, and I multiply it by 10%, and then I multiply it by 25%, I get 137.5. Now, if I start over with that 100 and I multiply it by 25% first, and then I multiply that by 10%, I'm still at 137.5. Multipliers, as long as it's a chain of multipliers and you're not inside any kind of parentheses, right? It doesn't matter the order of the multiplication. It's all multipliers until you wrap it in the parentheses, which is like pre-stack or post-stack. Like the stacks of a value, then it's parentheses. You do that first, and then you add a post-stack multiplier, right? Math with Gaarawarr. God, I can't do math on stream, but I hope I did that one right. I did that one right. I'm confident. How's I go? G. Barazkas, do you know if we'll be able to buy Dynaheir's tadpole after this emergence is gone? So Dynaheir had a tadpole at some point via the Thayan Enclave? Does she, or is it still here? No, it's still here. When the next emergence event ends is when this goes out of this. So you can get it in a few days. An emergence event is going to arrive soon. 3 days. You can then buy it with the corrupted. Well, you can buy it for corrupted gems if you have it now. But if you're like me and you don't have 10,000, you could wait and then get it in the emergence event. Once it leaves 13 days from now, it's going to be like 3 months before you can get it with gems. So these feats that are in the Thayan Enclave, after they disappear, it's like a 3-month exclusivity period before you can then get them with gems like normal. And there'll be 50,000 gem feeds. So if you want this right now, you need to get it. And again, the emergence event is arriving for 4 days, and then it lasts for 9. But you'll earn a lot in the emergence. You'll be able to buy it if you don't have. You'll earn far more than 10,000 if you have no corrupted gems. Now, whether you want it or not is a whole thing. I mean, do you want to put Dynaheir in with an absolute adversaries party? If you're an absolute adversaries kind of main, where you're running an absolute adversaries formation, and you want to add more tadpoles, it's up to you. You have to look at her kit and go, is this a kit I want? Is it going to work well with this party? They're doing this thematically, not necessarily because these are the best things for you to do. They're doing a theme of, hey, spoiler alert, mind flayers invade Baldur's Gate. So, that's what they're going with. Whether you want to participate in that is up to you. Yeah. The other thing was you're thinking of getting a few motor chests. I think you're talking about with your corrupted gems. I would advise against that. Do we want? Let me. I know this got started with Dynaheir. We're going to talk about the emergence event coming up really quickly. Corrupted gems. Generally speaking, the best use scenario is support pigments. There are occasionally golden epics that make sense. If it's a golden epic that supports a mathematically overpowered ability, this one does not, then you could pick it up, right? If it's a feat that's super important, you could pick it up. None of these, I didn't consider any of these super important for me. Skins are limited time only, and when they go out of when the skins and the golden epics go out of this shop, they're then for cash and wild offers after 3 months. So this is a way, they're giving you a way to get these items for an in-game currency before they go to the cash shop. But this stuff down here, the chests, they throw them in here, but it's kind of bait. I'm just gonna call it out. It's kind of bait. They're not really what you want. At some point, Modron component chests will become a priority for you, but it's only really after you have support pigments on all of your support champion support items. That's going to take a very long. I'm nowhere near that personally. Every champion has 6 items. That's a lot of pigments. Yeah, it's not necessarily, because what you're getting out of this is random and not even guaranteed to give you what you need or to be good, or even if it is, it may not be as much as this. This is a triple damage boost. And these all stack multiplicatively. So if you have a champion who has one of these on all 6 of their items, that's triple to the 6th, right? That's not additively stacking. It's not 18x damage. It's multiplicatively stacking. So generally speaking, with the corrupted gems, you want to spend those on support pigments and put them on champions that are in your trials group. And if you're in trials in Mount Tiamat, if you're not there yet, it's you're the strongest OP support champion. Yeah, 729x. It's a big deal if you get a lot of them. And that's way better than it's on alongside your Modron stuff, right? El Jefe, are there specific champions to pair with the Dark Urge to help him farm kills faster? I mean, if you're just sitting farming kills, you would put like a attack speed booster, just so he attacks faster. If you're on a level where it depends. So the best way to the question here is more, what's the best way to farm murder stacks on the Dark Urge? And there's 2 types of places you want to go. You either want to go to a fast spawning area, so somewhere that just spawns like where you can spawn endless streams of enemies very quickly, like out of a portal in Mad Wizard, or in specific variants that can just create lots of enemies, and just kill as fast as you can kill. And you might, in that kind of situation, I don't know, maybe an attack speed. He's got a fairly quick base attack. Maybe, though. A better scenario is in what I've termed a Chumbawamba variant. It's variants where you have enemies that when you kill them, they fall down and then they get back up again after a certain number of seconds. Usually either 5 seconds or 10 seconds. The 5-second ones are the great ones, something like Twilight Twist and Waterdeep. We tell people not to complete that one because it's great for stacking up people like the Dark Urge. And basically what will happen is as the enemies come out, the undead ones will fall down and then get back up again, and eventually more and more and more will come out, and regular enemies would get killed off. The undead will stick around. Eventually you'll be stuck with 100 undead enemies that are doing this. They're getting killed by an attack. 5 seconds later they get up, Dark Urge attacks them again, they all fall down, and they just go up and down, up and down, up and down, and you once you've got that set up to the point where you're not going to die and you're going to get as many stacks as possible, pop some speed potions, and then leave your client alone for a very long time. And rake in 100 stacks every attack. That's the goal, right? That's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it. And there's multiple of those variants, but again, some have different types of enemies. Like so there are some event variants that have like constructs that we saw in this event. But out in the main campaign, usually it's undead that do this. And they vary, and it varies anywhere from like 5 to 10 seconds. Dante Draco, is the 3-month exclusivity the same for retiring DLCs? I don't know how long, like when they retire DLCs, because there's some retirement sales been going on. Basically, retiring a DLC means you can't just come to the shop and buy it anymore. It will go into wild offers. I don't know how long it takes. That's a dev question, and I don't even know if Dev Insights would know the answer to that. It's because it's kind of a marketing question. How long before it would go into wild offers? You can ask on Dev Insights. I don't know. I do not know. All right, I'm going to go back and do the generic questions. Valiant Eagle asks, when is the next Idle Champions Presents? I don't know. They haven't announced it. Until they announce it, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Dredge NYC, what do I need to do before Vecna arrives? Folks, look, I know we're in the Castle of 1,000 Vecnas, but I came here on purpose. It was announced yesterday. Our next campaign to arrive in the game is Vecna, Eve of Ruin. It will be a main campaign on the banner over here, down below Turn of Fortune's wheel. So it will be the highest, highest difficulty, most recently, usually highest difficulty campaign. As you go down the banner, things get more difficult. Usually, I'm gonna base this off what has come in the past. Usually, when a campaign arrives, you only get 2 adventures and a variant for each of them. I know it's a little like anticlimactic, but that's the way the content release drops work. So usually we're going to get most likely 2 adventures, 2 variants. We're going to get like 1 tier of blessings for Vecna, Eve of Ruin. I don't know. I would guess maybe it's Vecna Favor? I don't know. I have no idea what the favor conversion is going to be. I don't think it mentioned it. If it did, I totally missed it. But yeah. So Vecna is arriving Wednesday. Folks, Vecna is arriving Wednesday the 22nd. It's 4 days from now. And if you were paying attention earlier, I said there's an emergence event arriving 4 days from now. Guess what's emerging? Vecna. It's basically going to be like versions of Vecna from all the different multiverses are going to show up and flood your free plays, and killing them gets you corrupted gems. That's how emergence events works. You can also kill Vecna and regular Vecnas in regular adventures, because here at the bottom of Sword Coast is the Vecna story arc. If you scroll down when you do the split here, and you can either go up to do the Barovian arc, or you can come down and do the much more difficult Vecna arc. It starts with Vecna Lives and go all the way to Vecna Out. There are versions of Vecna you can kill here too, and you'll be able to get corrupted gems off them. But the best way is free plays. But yeah, so the campaign's going to arrive, and the storyline of this campaign is it's not the Vecna we know and hate that's arriving. It's a Vecna from a different multiverse. The Vecna we know is a failure. Right? Every time we see Vecna, he fails. He's lost an eye, he's lost a hand, he's lost all our respect. He just loses. All he does is lose. The Vecna that's arriving is referred to as Emperor Vecna, and all he does is win. He has never lost. He defeated Cass. He has both his eyes. He has both of his hands. He's got all his own teeth. He's the real deal, folks. He's the real deal. So he shows up because he already conquered one multiverse. And he's like, yeah, I'm a big deal here. You know what? I'm going to go conquer another one. So yeah, he's showing up to pose a great threat. And our job is to go find, let's see, the featured champions. They listed the featured champions. In this sense, featured means they're the ones that are featured like in the storyline. Rhea and Belushi, from the last time, from the Vecna Live story arc, and then Sergeant Nox and Astarion are all teaming up with Cass and the Wizards 3 to hunt down the lost pieces of the fabled Rod of 7 Parts. So that's the storyline that's going to be happening, folks. And that starts on Wednesday the 22nd. Wednesday the 22nd. So again, I don't know what the favor is going to be. That hasn't been publicly announced. I don't know what the blessings are going to be, but I'll tell you what, the tier 1 global is usually just double damage, but I don't know what the locals will look like. Rumor has it the favor is going to be just as bad as Turn of Fortune's Wheel, which yeah. So we'll see. But otherwise, super excited to see another campaign. Campaigns arriving early. Usually this arrives in the fall or early winter. But the release schedule for books changed this year because this is the campaign that's coming out this year. Later this year, Wizards of the Coast is releasing new Dungeon Master's Guide, new players' handbooks. It's the updated versions. It's not a new edition. It's just like an updated 5e. Yeah. So the Thayan Enclave, again, we'll have a new emergence event with lots of Vecna. We're going to get 2 golden epics, one for Azaka and one for Diana. And let me go look here. Diana's is going to be, I think it's this one. I think it's going to be her slot 5, which is ultimate damage. Is that? Yeah, slot 5 ultimate damage. Azaka's is going to be slot 3, so that's going to be her guiding hand. That's her gold find. So she's going to get a golden epic on her gold find. Those will be for 20,000 corrupted gems. There's going to be 4 feats. It doesn't tell me what these feats do. I wish it did, but it doesn't. 1 for Diana, 1 for Dritz, 1 for Evil, and 1 for Kreidel. So the 5 featured champions in the emergence are going to be Azaka, Diana, Dritz, Evil, and Kreidel. There's going to be 2 skins, and I'm definitely getting these ASAP. Pirate Azaka and Pirate Diana. Of course I am. Of course I am. So yeah. That's what's going to be coming up Vecna themed next week. Vecna themed next week. Let's see. Harky Twitch is looking for advice for Kreidel's first variant where you can't place any champions adjacent to each other. Yes, it's called Split Up, or Socially Distant Champions, as I like to call it. I was considering a Desmond Spurt Belushi Astarion combo. Desmond? So Desmond isn't going to work. I'm just gonna give you a heads up here. Desmond isn't gonna work because Desmond works with NPCs or dead champions. He's not gonna like the empty slots in the formation aren't gonna help him. If that was what you were going for. You can have 6. The best formation layout is the most optimal one. I think it just gives you 6 champions that you have to do it with. And let me actually let me slot a core here. Oh, there it is. And let me go to the drop down. This is, folks, there's a drop down here if you didn't know, that lets you look at any campaign. Let me see if I can find Kreidel. See if they didn't screw up his thing. Oh, they did. Events 2.0 has screwed up this. They did it. They finally made this so everything was labeled properly. And Events 2.0 has screwed this up. So what is Kreidel showing up as? Does anybody know? I think it's under the K's. I was just under the K's. Oh, it's all the way down. No, it is there. Dang it. I can't see today. No formation set. Here we go. Here's my formation for split up. Thank you. Wow, it said Kreidel and I totally missed it. I'm really looking forward to lunch, folks. I haven't eaten yet today. I'm going to blame this on low blood sugar. It's more likely, though. It's just ADHD. This was my split up. This is the split up. Oh no, down here. This is what I did for lower levels. This is what I or speed. This is what I did for tier 4. So I had a Briv up front. I had an Astarion. I had Karlach. Shocker. She's my DPS of choice. I had Akira. I had Caddy Bree in the back, and I had BBEG. Those are my 6. And this is the layout that gets you the most optimal, the highest number of champions in your formation. 6. If you want my other Kreidel formations, they're up here. These are the ones that this should be what I took all the way to. I completed all of it. This should be my tier 4. This one isn't. But I think I just use this. Yeah. Now, obviously, I've gone all in on the champions that are shown there. Those are champions that I've supported with item levels and legendary effects, so your progress may vary. But those places are the best places to put them. You just use whatever champions work best for you. Woo! Almost didn't hit that in time. All right. D2 Crafty One, do you still stand with dumping your blacksmiths on Briv or start spreading it? I mean, it depends. Semper dependent, folks. I got my shirt on. Semper dependent. This is my Champions in Psychology shirt. It depends. Like on my new account, I picked up Briv first, and I started off dumping blacksmith contracts on Briv to unlock Mert. I got him up. I think a good place to have gotten him, because it wasn't necessarily for his speed. I wanted his tanking and survivability features to combine with other champions I knew I was going to pick up to be able to do deep pushes, to get lots of favor, to make everything easier. Get him up to about like a 50% jump chance, and then I started dumping onto Human, and I think getting Human up to a specific point, I think about average 150 item levels on Briv and 150 item levels on Human is roughly where I think was a good place to start on my new account. And now I'm dumping into Diana, and I'm gonna get her up maybe to average 50 item levels to give her speed item a boost. I'm gonna do the same to Sentry. I'm gonna do the same to Whittle. I've got all of these item supported champions now, just to give each of them a little snack of item levels and power and pushing power, so that I can fly through stuff faster. Then I will go back to dumping on, like, I think Human first. It's just with the low amount of contracts or blacksmithing contracts I was getting, I just wasn't seeing a lot of return on my investment in Briv or Human after a certain point. So it made sense to distribute some out and then come back to them. Now, once you have all of your speed champions capped, that have a cap, Briv becomes your dump target until you get to 4 jump. At that point, you're going to have a long, deep, personal conversation with yourself about whether 9 jump is for you or not. It really currently messes up a lot of things about how you might play the game and progress your champions. It's more of a late game thing, late game decision to make. 4 jump works perfectly well. That's where I'm at on mine. And usually from that point on, once you hit 4 jump, you start putting your contracts in other places. You raise your average item level floor. You start investing in those mathematically overpowered champions. Yeah. Artelas, I'm a returning player. Welcome back. Do you have a guide for supercharging? That wasn't a thing when I played. That's a good question. Hold on. I've done a lot of tutorial shows. Let me get to my list. Super charging. Yes! There is a YouTube video on the Cine Games YouTube channel that's going to be Gaarawarr's Guide to Modron Flow Supercharge Edition, where we talk about that. It's from 2022, but I mean, it's still valid. There's also community resources. If you look for Emote, EMMOTE, and their website, the Encyclopedia Modronica, Google that. There's a lot of information there. I will say supercharging is not something you want to get into unless you've got lots of epic directed cross pieces. Lots of them. The first thing you need to do with your Modron core is just get it full epic, level 15 and full epic. After that, then you can get into looking at supercharging, which is that's the different colors here, the oranges and the reds. The red is the highest, E10 flow. That's the thing. You got to get super high flow values to get basically max out your supercharging. And the only way you can do that is just super effective splitting and recombining, and it's going to take a lot of cross pieces, very specific cross pieces, depending on the Modron core. And even as long as I've been playing the game, and as many pieces as I have over here, I still share pipes, which basically means if I were to look at a pipe on another party, it would just be there's a bug going on. If I were to look at a pipe from another party, its automation is it's just set up for automation. It's not piped out at all. But oh wow, yeah, it broke. I don't know what broke. I can't see my saves. I have saved supercharged versions. So if I want to switch to a different core, I turn the current one down to automation, and then I switch to the core, and then I load in the supercharged set, because even I don't have enough pipes to supercharge everything. One day, hopefully I will, but I'm not there yet. Pernali, any news of other pigments will be available in the Thayan Enclave? I don't. I think it was just a restock of the support pigments. Yeah. 10 Marvelous Support Pigment restock. Yeah. That's not the delivery system. The Thayan Enclave is the delivery system for support pigments. It's not the delivery system for DPS, tanking, or healing. They're going to have to come up with good delivery systems for those. Right now, they give us 1 or 2 with sometimes with these progress rewards. Like we got another support here, but in the past we got like our first healing pigment off of Penelope. And, yeah. Smooth Beloved. Why is it the Karlach cannot be targeted with a support pigment despite being support tagged? That's not true at all. I've got support pigments on her. In fact, I have support, DPS, and tanking on her on this item, and then support and tanking on these two, and support on all of these. You cannot... I have a feeling, I'm just going to step on a limb here, and hopefully it supports my weight. I have a feeling you're trying to put a support pigment on Karlach, but she is in blues and not purples. You can't put pigments on blue items, or green or white. They have to be epic. They have to be epic. And it can't already have a support pigment on it. But yeah, you can absolutely target Karlach, because I did it. I know you can. She's got 6. She's the only one of my champions that has 6. Rough Rider, will there be a special day of streaming on Wednesday? I have no idea. I am not the person in charge of that schedule. Schedules usually get announced on Monday. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason you can't fully support Pigment. Fully support DPS or tank Pigment your Karlach. We are out of questions, folks. We got like 25 minutes. We got 20 minutes left. I'm gonna do our outro. So if you have questions for me, let me see if we got in chat. Slava, could you recommend a formation for Zerix's foul play mission? No idea. No idea. No, actually, I really can't. I can't do like I can. The only thing I could do was show a layout. Like here's where the placement is for my champions in that split up. It's impossible for me to tell you what formation to use in pretty much anywhere. Especially, I mean, maybe for things like I can do stuff for like split the party. I've done those because I base those formations in my guide around core champions primarily. But once you're up into further content, and you're getting more towards late game content with Zerixis, I don't know I don't have your account. If you are having problems, then what you need to do is you need to tune into formation save when Sean does a formation save during the week. Submit a ticket with your party while you're in that party, and he will pull up your party, your actual account. He will copy your account onto his account, and he will recommend adjustments for you. I don't have that capability, and that's the only way I could do that, is if I were looking at your exact account. So yeah, for stuff like that, you got to hit up formation save. That's what that show is designed to do. That's what that show is designed to do, is help you with questions like that. Ovium, how many corrupted gems can you get from killing daily? Oh, I don't remember the limit. There'll be a number. There's a max. Like it's almost like a event token drops. The total max that you can get goes up incrementally over time. So technically, if you were to not do anything until the very last day, you could kill them all in one day. So there isn't a maximum amount of corrupted gems from kills that you could get a day. Now there are daily quests that ask you to kill 100. In this case, it's going to be Vecne a day, and if you do that, you get gems as well. You want to do that. You want to kill at least 100 a day. But there's no max other than the total max that are possible. And I don't remember the numbers on that, but they've updated the emergence interface based off our feedback, so it shows you how much you've earned and what the total possible for earnings so far are, and the total you've earned over the event and stuff like that. So it's pretty good once it goes live, and it'll go live on Wednesday. Pranali, sharing pipes? I thought that once they were not used, they were not available anywhere else. That's what I'm talking about sharing. So hold on, I'm going to restart my client here, and hopefully it will clear up this bug so I can show you what I mean. I thought I explained it, but I guess I didn't. And it's because I can't really show you. Let me come back in here and see if it's now fixed. Can I see my save formations? Yes. So let me go. Now that I can see my save formations, let me do this. So if I come over here and I look, I just have automation, right? This is a bad example because I don't pipe out my Aroas core. Did I pipe out my magic core? I did. I'm a magic core. Now if I try to load this in, there's gaps. See how there's gaps down here? This was fully piped out, but I've broken it because I've used some of these pipes in another core. I've used some of these pipes in my fast core. So if I come over here and I go to my lower level, this is the save version. I always want to have a gem farm available. And then I come back here and I load this in again. it fixes those gaps. This is what we talk about when we say we're sharing pipes. I have one pool of pipes. I can't use them twice. But what I can do is I can save. I can make saves that show fully piped out. Oh, I've still got one missing here. I wonder where that one is. To show fully piped out versions. I'll have to figure that out. But when I'm not using it, I just go back to automation. And that way I can use my pipes everywhere. Anywhere I want. Like if I were to switch over to, where are these pipes at? I don't know. I must have upgraded a pipe, and then you have to reset your formation. But if you come into these, you can I can come over here now, and I can load this in, and boom! Now I have a fully supercharged dexterous core. This is what we mean when we say we're sharing pipes. We're using the same pipes in all of our cores, not at the same time. Not at the same time, right? The core that I use the most is I just complete stuff with the fast core. So I just make sure that I have this supercharged out. And then if I'm doing pushes and I need something beefier than that, then I will switch to something beefier than that. Hold on. Modest. Okay. Get back to my normal setup. But yeah. So because I don't have enough pipes to supercharge all of the cores that I would want, because I would need a fast core. I would need a strong core for Karlach, because that's her core. I would need a dexterous core for Caddy Bree, because I love Caddy Bree DPS. I would need an unaffiliated core for Birdsong and Zorbu. I can't supercharge all four of those with not fully with the amount of directed directed cross pieces that I have. So one day I will be able to. That's really the only limitation is directed cross pieces. One day I'll be able to, and then I will just leave them supercharged in their supercharged setup. But currently I can't. So Nobles, I just accidentally activated a second gem hunter. Does it stack the bonus? The duration didn't stack. That sounds like a bug. Like if you did two of these, the duration, if it let you do it, the duration should have added another 7 days. And if it didn't, I would submit a ticket. I would submit a ticket. JM, can you talk about gearing up a new event champion? Feels like a waste to open the gold chest when I don't have electrums to fill them out first. So, the general rule of thumb is electrums into named silvers into named golds. And if you just want an easy way to do it, that's it. And the goal with your electrums and your named silvers is to get them to green or better rarity. Green or better rarity. That is the very easy, straightforward method. If you are starved on electrums, you don't have a lot of electrums, like on my new player account, I'm doing what I can, but I'm also trying to get all of my time gate champions geared up to blue or better. Gearing them up to blue via electrums. So I'm using as many as I can. There is an even more hyper-focused way, super optimized way of doing it. And that's to open first, the second you get it, and this is event champions only. So event champions you get from events and time gates. These are all event champions. When they have no gear at all, open a gold chest that drops gear for them. So it could be a named gold for them. It could be a weekend chest from the newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. Get your weekend chest. That's this weekend. It's this one. It's the gold mechanical chest. Equipment for Nordum, Brunner, Jarlax, Akilik, Evelyn, right? You can get, if one of those works, do that. If it's a named chest, this is a good example. If it's a named chest, you can open the named chest first. If it's a group chest, like a patron chest that they qualify for, you can do that. Just one gold chest. Because what happens is a gold chest it usually drops a guaranteed of 2 items. It can drop up to 3 items with 2 consumables. Usually it's 2 items and 3 consumables like this. but it can drop up to epic rarity, like this. I got double epic here, folks. Now, she's already fully geared, so this didn't mean anything. It's just increased the item levels. But technically, the best result you could get out of just starting with 1 gold chest first is 2 epics and a blue. In fact, it's weird that it didn't even... It should have given me a blue gear, but I guess it just considered it blue or better. I've never seen 3 epics. Maybe it could. But the thing is usually what you're going to get from a gold chest that drops gear is a blue, a guaranteed blue, and a guaranteed upgrade. And when you're gearless, when you have no gear yet, that means you're going to get a blue, and then you're either going to get a green, a blue, or a purple. Right? And if you get if you get lucky and you get a third item, that's also going to be a green or blue or purple. So if 1 gold chest could fill out multiple slots for you at green or better. If you do that first, that means you're going to use fewer electrums and named silvers to get you to green or better gear. But you only want to use 1. The reason being, because it can guarantee you a blue. This isn't going to... I'm just opening these because I'm bored. Because it's going to guarantee you a blue and guarantee you an upgrade. The blue isn't always the upgrade. And once you have a blue or higher, opening another gold chest could dupe the blue and give you the green as an upgrade. And we don't want to do that with our gold chests. So you could start with 1 gold and then do electrums and named silvers until you're green or better. And then go back to opening the golds. You can either use named golds or you could use patron golds if you happen to have stacks of those, like group gold chests. Because those blues, they guarantee a blue and they'll get you there. And then the named ones could go on last just as duplicate item levels and chance in working your pity timers for epics. So there is a really hyper optimal way to do it if you're running low on chests. If you have tons of chests, if you have tons of silvers and tons of golds, because that's where you dumped your event currency, then the electrums, you don't have to start with electrums. You don't have to start with this super hyper efficient thing. It's still better. It is still better. But at a certain point you have so many resources it doesn't matter. So there is hyper efficiency you can aim for, but generally speaking, electrums first, then named silvers, then named golds. That's just a good generic rule of thumb that most people can process and pass on. Because it gets real detailed when you start to getting the hyper-efficient stuff. Monula, you said you need a lot of cross pieces for a strong core. Well, for any of the cores. There's a core called a strong core. So, that was a joke. When I look at your layouts, there are much more places for T pieces. Yeah. So you know how many X pieces you need for 1 core. It depends on the layout. So crosses and T's. T's are usually the ones that are easy to come by. But the biggest multipliers you get, like up here, like I come right down into a cross. It's not directed, it's undirected, but it's effectively 1 in, 3 out. And then there's some T pieces, and directed T's are important, but you tend to get lots of those. What you need are very specifically directed cross pieces. 3 in, 1 out is a big deal. This is the one that gives you the biggest multiplier. So you can see 333.3. That's because as you pump in, it's a 10% multiplier base. But as you add extra inputs, the multiplier goes up. And these are the biggest multipliers you can get. This is a 2 in, 2 out. So that caps at 200%. And you can see, so anywhere I've got a 200%, these are cross pieces that I needed to get the boosts high enough to get to the epic. Here's 333s, here's 200s, here's 40s. These are bases because that's a 1 in, 3 out. That's standard. But look at the 200s, 40, 200, 200, 333, right? They're all over the place. You need a lot. But how many you need depends on the layout of the Modron. And every Modron's layout is unique. You need a lot. When I say you need a lot, you need a lot. I had to have a lot. But you need specific directionality, and that's what you're chasing. Every week, what I chase when I open Modron component chest is directed cross pieces. And I'm just happy when I get one, because they're hard enough to get one. Whether they're one I need or not, who knows? Like, that's a whole secondary factor. I'm going to need all of them eventually, right? For something. And eventually eventually, once I have, as I supercharge more and more permanently, then I'll know, I'll narrow down exactly what I need. But right now, give them all to me. All of the directed cross pieces, please. Hawk the Nerd. I have all my evergreens in full epic. Nice. I guess that means cores too. I'm one of those people. Core and evergreen are different. My event and time gates are in. So they're all event champions. You just get them out of either events or time gate. Or blue or better. Good. This is a good time to do a few extra patron variants to pull patron chests. It's not about the rarity, but you are thinking in the right way. You don't necessarily want to really pop lots and lots and lots of patron chests until your core and evergreen champions are full epic. And that's because you don't want to waste the epics that they drop on champions that could have gotten them from gem chests, right? So you are in the right path. But whether or not it's the time to do that, it depends on where you are in your progress through the campaigns. So your progress, you want to get to a point where it's efficient to do lots of patron variants, and that's Avernus. There are 7 efficient patron variants, what I call efficient patron variants. They are high area goal variants that have low to no restriction. So the first one, what's the first one you usually like to talk about? Ragadraga's Crew. Area goal 450 base, which means Mert's going to be like 550 or higher. I can't remember. I think it's 550. But the restriction is a non-restriction. It just, lycanthropes appear with each wave. They don't count toward quest progress or drop gold. There's another thing with buffs, but it doesn't really matter. So this is a non-restriction. This means I can use my very best pushing formation and rock through this. And because of the high area, the area goal determines the currency you get and the influence you get. By doing these 6 or 7 efficient patron variants, once you get to Avernus, Baldur's Gate Ascended to Avernus, you can max out like your perks for patrons through like tier 5 of the patrons you have at this time. So all the way up through Zariel. Everything through Zariel at that point, you can get to tier 5 with these. And then, so that's going to get you a ton of patron currency, and you can, if you want, you can dump that currency into patron chests and pop those chests. Get whatever you want. I don't work hard, like when I do new accounts, like on the one I am now, I don't work super hard on patron stuff until I get here. Before this, I'm just getting my time gate piece on my Modron chest each week. I think I've done 5 variants total for Mert, 5 for Vajra, and 3 for Strahd. And that's all I needed to get the influence to buy my time gate piece and my Modron chest. And by having a single champion in a background party with automation, so I have 2 cores. So I'm using my fast core in my active party that I'm doing stuff in. I use my modest core just to automate a background party with 2 familiars in it, one on the field and one on click damage, and it just auto loads in Brunor. And I have that sitting in a patron free play, usually like Mad Wizard. And that gets me my challenge progress, a lot of challenge progress during the day and a lot of passive free play coins. And then overnight, I set up whatever directed group that I need. Like if it needs Nayeli, Brunor, and Celeste for 250 areas, I get that stuff. So I'm doing my challenges every week passively when I'm not actively playing. And that's more than enough currency for me to buy my time gate piece of Modron chest each week and bank extra for the future. And then when I get here, once I'm done, I just hit Avernus and we're about halfway through the storyline of Avernus. When I'm done, then I'm going to go back and start doing the variants so that I can rack up tons of patron variant stuff. From that point on, you'll have lots of local blessings and lots of power and lots of stuff. If you popped all those chests, hopefully lots more epics across your event champions and more item levels. And it will then be easier for you to tackle harder and harder variants if you want to stop and do that along the way. But after Avernus is kind of the good place to then be like, okay, I'm going to do at least the efficient variants for these. And if I'm really chasing epics for certain champions, I can combine that. You can combine that with time gates. I don't do that early on. I would just say if you want to chase them, do more variants. But remember, the higher the area requirement on the variant, the more currency and the more influence you're getting. And you can just chain those and until you're just doing the highest ones. I have a list in my guides. It's in the Patron 101 guide, and it's at the list there on the subreddit of all of my guides on the subreddit. I have a list of efficient variants if you scroll down in that guide. There's not many. There's only like one early on. It's in Tomb of Annihilation. And then it's Overwhelming Force. And then once you get to Baldur's Gate, like I said, there's 6 or 7. And then after that, there's 2 or 3 in every campaign. Fulio Base with the last question of the day. What is a good way to get Modron component pieces? Like I said, Presto scavenges them. That's really all you want to rely on early on. Modron, early on, when you're just trying to get your core leveled up and collect pieces for full epic flow, Modron component like upgrading pieces, not really a focus for you. Shouldn't be, really. These are more for later when you're trying to take everything into supercharge range. You might use them early on. The way you get them is this wrench icon. I can tear down. Let me get rid of like 40 of these. For each one of these whites, I get 1 component piece. But because you're destroying pipes that you might be using, I don't recommend it for new players until you understand what pipes are important for you to keep and what aren't. I like to keep a stock of the generic ones on hand, the plain white ones, for when I like to map out where I'm going when I get a new core. So I like to keep some of these on hand. The rest of the time, really, you're looking at like the important ones to keep are all of your directed pieces. If you at some point you will have enough undirected, like a directed pieces that you can just use those, but until you're there, you do want to keep the undirected as well. So early on, you just don't want to get rid of. You don't want to destroy your pipes early on just to get component pieces. Later on, you can do that, but yeah, at the start, stick to Presto. That was our last question, folks. I said that was the last question. People kept putting in questions because we're out of time. Thank you for joining us. This is the last stream of the week here on the Cena Games channel. Streams will return on Tuesday, I believe. Remember, Wednesday is the big content drop day. However, I stream on my channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr. You can come join us. I just put my name in chat. You click on my name and toss me a follow. I'll be streaming in about an hour-ish on that account I was just talking about, on my new progress account. We're going to be doing Baldur's Gate stuff. But if you want to see more of like how do you play a new account more efficiently, if you have more questions about new play stuff, I can help you over there, or even in more advanced stuff. Come hang out with us. I stream over there on my channel 5 days a week. 5 days a week. So thank all of you for asking the questions. Thank you to Gabe for grabbing the questions. We're out of here. I don't remember what song we're going out on. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks.
Do you ever wonder why this dungeon floor so clean? Who maintains this place, keeping it all pristine? There's no debris in here. You can sneak without a care. Only clean, shining stone and treasure everywhere. Rogue sees something shining, takes off down the hall, and suddenly he stops like he's run into a wall. Gelatinous cube, gelatinous cube, unsung hero of the dungeon and external. gelatinous cube. Not a single cobweb, not one speck of dust. The silver all looks polished and the iron is free of rust. The corridor is 10 feet tall and strangely 10 feet wide. There's no place for you to go, there's no place left to hide. If you stumble in the path of that not so friendly jail, unless you want to face its wrath, you better run like hell. Gelatinous cube, gelatinous cube, unsung hero of the dungeon and exterminator of the news. Gelatinous cube. Ever wonder what it's like to find a death so slow? As you're sinking into its hungry depths you go. Your body is engulfed, drowning in the slime. Its acid eats away at you, dissolving you over time. Gelatinous cube,